Good morning, Harvard-Epworth. I will be preaching today, and I'm going to talk about an amazing technology. I love ChatGPT. Honestly, I cannot live without it. Since I'm not studying in my native language, I constantly ask AI whether my expressions sound strange or if I have made any grammar mistakes. Of course, I use within the boundaries of my school's policies, so don't worry about it. But ChatGPT doesn't just help me studying. Sometimes I use them to get advice and wisdom about the situations that I'm in. I often use them as my psychological therapist. Over time, since ChatGPT has a pretty decent function of memorizing, it stocks the information it gets from me, so they have learned so much about me that they have actually become just like my second brain. I even wondered, what if AI makes up my clone after it gets advanced so much? I might have to compete with AI Jihyun, which is terrible and uncomfortable for me. Then one day, I was scrolling randomly on a phone and came across a YouTube video that suggested an interesting question that said, ask ChatGPT to answer as if it were the devil. If ChatGPT, you were the devil, how do you want to read my life? I was super intrigued and curious, so I immediately turned on the ChatGPT and asked the question to them. And the answer I received completely shocked me. GPT Devil told me, "You are studying alone in a foreign land. There's no one here who truly supports you. No one truly understands how you feel here. Your research is outdated and impractical. You'll never make money out of this." So shocked. "Your studies are too idealistic. To be honest, no one will care and the society would never change. You don't have a real calling in ministry. You should doubt yourself if you really do have it. In the end, you'll give up the theological education and just run away from all of this." Oh my gosh. Isn't it so cruel to me? But what surprised me even more was that these were exactly the thoughts that I had been fighting against for so long time. In every moment of insecurity and exhaustion, or whenever I felt like there was no one here for me, I have been whispering these very same things to myself. And at that moment, I realized something. The devil trying to tempt and destroy me isn't some kind of distant external force. It is actually another version of myself living inside me. And if I look into them closely, the temptation isn't something sweet, materialistic, or something tangible. It is actually the state of mind that justifies my fears and makes me keep sinking into negative thoughts. This is the devil that I have been walking with, the one that tries to hold me back when I'm just getting to make progress, the one that grips my ankles when I try to step forward, the one that urges me to give up. Then let's go back to the scripture to see which kind of devil Jesus met. In Luke 4, Jesus is tempted in the wilderness. He's starving after fasting for 40 days when the devil appears and tempts him 3 times. First, the devil tells him to turn stones into bread. Then they offer Jesus all the kingdoms, authorities, and glory of the world if he only could worship the devil. Finally, the devil challenges Jesus to test God. If you are truly the Son of God, jump from the temple. God will rescue if it's true. When we read this passage, it's easy to imagine an image of devil appearing out of nowhere to test Jesus. But I don't think that's the only way to understand it. It tells me in a different way from traditional interpretation. It is because when I look at these temptations, I feel like what the devil is asking for isn't that different from what I want for myself and that I struggle with. I constantly worry that my studies won't get me a financial stability. And of course, it's not a sinful, wrong desire that I'm wanting to survive, to have a house that I can stay with my family, and to be able to eat Korean food well. To be honest, whenever thinking of worrying that this theological degree is not going to make me economically stable, I just want to summon devil immediately and change stones into my bread. But if this fear overwhelms me too much, maybe the devil is indeed right there. The second temptation, the devil offering Jesus authority and glory, sounds a lot like the voice in my head telling me that my work is too radical and too unpopular. I'm interested in doing theology in a view of social justice, reforming existing interpretations and traditions to make them more relatable to more marginalized groups of people, and preserving my Korean heritage by actively incorporating my perspective from Korean women. However, the devil tempts me with an easier, safer way to where I study something more related to the mainstream, less Korean, make myself work with some privileged people, and it would secure me possibly a more promising career in the future. Of course, I can ask myself, wouldn't it be easier to study something less controversial, something that doesn't challenge people to change themselves or change the society? But then another voice inside me asks, is that really what you want to do? And the third temptation of testing God reminds me of my own constant doubts that I have. As the ChatGPT devil said, it makes me question whether I even have a true calling. Am I really meant to be here? Should I really be studying theology? Or am I a good fit for ministry? I desperately wish that God would just send a clear, undeniable sign, even though I might had it at some point of my life in the past. Some days, these voices are just small whispers, so faint and so small that I don't even notice them. And on other days, they roar so loudly that I cannot hear anything else except for those voices, and sometimes even I get a headache because of them. Where is the devil in all these situations? To ask the question again, who is the devil in this situation? I would like to say that the test Jesus went through was actually the voice inside him. The wilderness where Jesus was tested, where he faced devil in extreme hunger and suffering, is not something specific geographical location that we must travel for a long time to reach there. Actually, even at this very moment, when we are sitting in church, at school, at home, or at work, we are walking through the wilderness. We are holding tightly onto the devil's hand, unable to clearly distinguish whether it is truly ourselves or something else. The wilderness is our life itself. Just as Jesus fought against the devil's temptation with the teachings of Scripture, let us also carry at least one weapon to defeat the pet devil living within us. There's a famous old saying in Korea, if you know your enemy and yourself very well, you will going to win every battle. All these battles begin with understanding who the devil living with us really is. We must identify what makes us anxious and what makes us sensitive and depressed. Is it money, fame, calling, health, or hope? What is it that makes you so unsettling and so uncomfortable? Some folks might ask this question, and I also struggled with this thought while preparing this sermon. The reason for my anxiety does not lie inside me, but something outside of me. For example, like politics, social structures, oppression, war, poverty, discrimination, and lots of things out there. If we say the devil is within, inside us, Isn't that too naive for an approach to external factors that we actually have to fight against? Yeah, of course, that is a very good point. I totally agree with that. But this is not about blaming individuals for a structural injustice that we cannot immediately change with our own ability. Rather, what matters here is what kind of relationship we have with the devil inside us. In a harsh reality where things seem hopeless, the way we live and act is determined by our current relationship with the inner pet devil. Life is a harsh wilderness anyway. No matter what circumstances we face, we will find ourselves walking through the wilderness, constantly accompanied by inner devils who keep trying to test us in a new creative ways every single day. And of course, external factors will not change so easily. That is why we must have conversations with the inner devil, the only way that we gain the strength to change the world. Do you remember the voice inside me that I mentioned earlier in this preaching? That the one that stood against the devil? The voice that questioned me every time when I was in danger of choosing an easier path, asking me, "Is this what you really want?" The voice that, despite all the temptations, has kept me from turning stones into bread. That voice is the one God truly wants us to listen to. It is also the proof that no matter how much we struggle with the devil's temptations, God still loves us. Believe in your truths, the one that actually moves you, the one that makes your heart beat towards the future. No matter how small it may sound, listen to them closely. And if you do that, over time, that voice will grow stronger and stronger until it becomes more powerful than the devil itself. Jesus overcame the devil's temptations, and that was the moment his ministry truly began. So let us communicate and tame the little devil inside us, weakening its power, and then take the power for ourselves. Today, I recommend you all to try using ChatGPT if you have not tried it yet. Tell them about your worries and struggles, and ask them how they would like to destroy your life. Let's get to know about the devil inside us. And when we do try that, a new path to our life ministry will open before us. Thank you.